Hello, Atheist Gaming here with my TBC TLDR class overview. If you want a deeper dive into any individual class, check out my playlist, which includes every class in Spec, but this will just serve as a very brief way to get acquainted with the strengths, weaknesses, and desirability of each class in TBC. Starting off, we have physical DPS, and just running down the list, BM Hunter is very high, best in class single target damage, medium AoE damage, lower PvP strength, medium utility, mostly for their group, and you'll want 2 to 3 per raid. Survival Hunter is lower on the single target damage than their BM spec, medium AoE, low PvP strength, and higher utility due to the raid buff, and you will want 1 per raid. Enhancement Shaman is medium to high, depending on the tier, single target damage, low AoE, lower PvP strength, very high utility based off of being a shaman with some unique party buffs, and you will want 2 per raid. Ret Paladin is medium single target damage, low AoE damage, medium PvP strength, high utility, basically through blessings, seals, judgments, and their 3% crit bonus, and you will want 1 per raid. Arms Warrior is medium single target damage, medium AoE, high PvP strength, medium utility, mostly carried by their class utility, though they have 1 unique debuff, and you will want 1 per raid. Fury Warrior is medium to high single target damage, depending on phase, very high AoE and cleave damage, low PvP ability, low utility with no unique spec utility, and you'll want 0 to 1 per raid. Rogue is medium to high single target damage, depending on the phase, low to medium AoE damage, depending on their cooldowns, very high PvP strength, and low to medium utility, which takes the form of more control, CC, and interrupts, rather than strict damage and number buffs. Generally, you'll want 0 to 1 per raid. And then finally, Feral Druid, which is medium to single target damage, low AoE damage, low PvP ability, medium utility, but they're mostly taken as main tanks and off tanks, so you'll have 1 to 2. Caster DPS, Destrolock, very high single target damage, very high AoE damage, high ability to PvP, medium utility, you'll want 3+ per raid. Affliction Lock, medium to high single target damage, less so than the Destrolock, very high AoE, very strong in PvP, medium to high utility due to their unique debuffs, and 1 per raid. Now, Warlocks will have a specific PvP spec, which is not listed here, SLSL, which is really their very high PvP spec, but Warlock in general is pretty good at PvP. Arcane Mage, very high single target damage, very high AoE, depending on the phase, specifically in Tier 5, this is when they are competing for the top of the meter. Medium PvP ability, low utility, 1 per raid. Fire Mage, high single target damage, high AoE, medium PvP ability, low utility, and 1 per raid. Frost Mage, medium to high single target damage, medium to high AoE, very high PvP ability, low utility, 1 per raid. You can pick any of these 3 specs depending on gear and phase. Arcane is best in Tier 5 and early Tier 6. Fire is best in Tier 6, and Frost Mage is the easiest spec to gear and oftentimes played early on. Ellie Shaman, medium single target damage, medium to high AoE damage, though they specifically are good at 3 or less target fights, low to medium PvP, high utility on the basis of being a shaman and also having a unique, very strong totem. You'll want 1 to 2 per raid. Boomkin, low to up to medium single target damage, low AoE damage, low PvP ability, very high utility with one of the stronger debuffs in the game, and you'll want 1 per raid. Shadow Priest, low to medium single target damage, low AoE damage, medium PvP strength, high utility with both offensive bonuses, increasing all of the caster damage, and the ability to grant mana to healers. And you'll generally want 1 per raid. Healers, Holy Priest, high single target healing, high AoE healing, low PvP ability relatively, medium utility, 1 to 2 per raid. Disc Priest, medium single target healing, low to medium AoE healing, high PvP strength, high utility, 0 to 1 per raid. Resto Druid, medium to high single target, medium AoE, very high PvP ability, medium to high utility, 1 per raid. Resto Shaman, low to medium single target healing, but high AoE healing. Medium strength in PvP, high utility on the basis of being a shaman with totems, 2 to 3 per raid. Holy Paladin, high single target healing, low AoE healing, medium strength in PvP, medium to high utility, mostly from their class being able to have access to blessings and judgments, 1 per raid, but you do want 3 total paladins, and you will take whichever paladins you can get. Tanks. Now these ones are a little different, but I'll just cover them briefly. Warriors have the fastest start, but the poorest scaling. They have poor AoE threat, but very strong defensive CDs. They also bring unique utility in the form of multiple taunts, movement abilities, interrupts, stun, spell reflect. You'll generally want 1 per raid, and just to clarify, when they say poor scaling, they can still tank through the whole game, but they will be eclipsed in their threat and durability later on. Druid, slower start, but great scaling. Needs PvP gear to really get their full uncrushable status, uncrittable status. They have medium AoE threat with swipe hitting 3 targets. They have awkward to weak defensive CDs. They either cannot be used reactively or don't provide a sudden chunk of durability. Medium utility, and they have the ability to do high amounts of damage and flex DPS better than any other tank. And you'll generally want 1 to 2 per raid. Paladin is the slowest starting tank with the lowest base stats and the hardest to cover gear, but they have great scaling when they get better gear. They have a situational defensive CD in Bubble. They have a ability to grant themselves a lot of additional threat with wings. They have very high utility through blessings and seals, the best AoE threat, and you'll generally want 1 to 2 per raid. Now, you will almost always take 3 tanks to a raid, so when I say 1 to 2, it'll usually be a warrior that will be dropped for a second of a druid or paladin, especially later on if you're really trying to push high performance. So basically that covers the very, very, very brief TLDR of every single class and rating spec. If you have any questions or you want more in-depth information, check out the class-specific videos. Otherwise, thanks for watching.